It's really another question for SOFM. Can he do it again? Because this time he's up against Clearlove, one of the best in the LPL.
Yeah, and on top of that, it seems like Clearlove just does not want to see that cheese, don't want to deal with it, banning away the Malzahar. Last time we saw Malzahar coming from this team, it was in the hands of SOFM, so not going to happen, not today.
Yeah, Snake decided they wanted to try a Malzahar in the jungle and put a Syndra in the mid lane instead, but we are into Champion Select for game number 1 between Snake eSports and Edward Gaming. Snake will be playing from the blue side in their first match, whereas EDG will be on the red side for game number 1. LeBlanc, Irelia, and Gragas are the 3 bans that come out from Snake, whereas EDG decided to take away that Malzahar, the Vladimir, as well as a Gangplank from Snake.
I like the jungle focus coming from Snake here. They ban out the Gragas. We've seen an amazing amount of Gragas games coming from Clearlove. Whenever he has Gragas, he just goes off on it. Of course, he goes off on just about anything he plays, the Kazakhs included. But now they've secured the comfort pick for SOFM. Whenever he's on the rec side, you see him playing exactly as he should.
On top of this is the most contested pick between these 2 players other than the Gragas, which is Clearlove's most played champion this split, but has been banned away by Snake. So we'll have to see what Clearlove decides to pick up next, because going down the lines, the next champion he's played the most is Kindred and Graves, something we haven't seen him touch as much as of recent.
I expect this to be an interesting draft session for EDG. They're a team that, yeah, sure, if you focus down one person's pool, specifically either Deft or in this case, Clearlove, well, then they'll say, hey, we have purple side, we have last pick, or we just have later rotation. We can hold or save our jungle pick at any moment, and that's exactly what they're doing here.
For now, though, they lock in their AD carry, which will be Ashe for Deft in this game. They also pick up Tahm Kench, which could be a top laner or a support. We'll have to see where EDG decide to use that champion.
Yeah, exactly. Tahm Kench has been coming back recently as a flex pick. We've seen a few games, not a lot of games on top laner, but a lot for support.
And it's been this week where teams have really just been picking up for the first time in the LPL. EDG is one of those teams that have yet to play it in the top lane, yet to play it as a support. So we'll have to keep track and see where they decide to send the champion. On the flip side, Snake, they've locked in Jhin as their AD carry of choice, and they will be picking up the Trundle, which can be a top laner or support as well.
Exactly, and so Trundle has been a fun pick up against the Tahm Kench. You see the Tahm Kench pick, and then Trundle is a natural response to it because Tahm Kench and Ashe on them, for that matter, fairly immobile if you catch them out, especially if they've already burnt Flash. It's an easy pick off, and so right now Snake has a fairly good front line working for them.
Still waiting to see what EDG's next 2 picks are going to be in the match. You can see Deft briefly hovering over the Urgot. Shoutouts to Saint, I believe, in one of their final games.
Yeah, I don't want to see that again. I like the idea behind that. Last game for Saint when it happened, but yeah.
Was it Saint?
Oh, wait, it wasn't.
It was not Saint. Saint played today.
OMG.
Yes, it was OMG.
Yeah.
But they do lock in the Graves, which is Clearlove's next jungler of choice once Rek'Sai and Gragas are taken away. They also pick up Maokai for Mouse up in the top lane.
Yeah, nothing special coming here. The Graves, I don't want to say boring. I want to see something crazy coming from Clearlove. But as usual, EDG is a team that they're all business. We saw a lot of fun games happening this week, a lot of send-off moments. But EDG, they're going hard to get that perfect win. They lock in the Graves and the Maokai, a major tank threat, and on top of that, a lot of backline damage.
It is also Mouse's most played champion this split. Very comfortable on the Maokai. A couple of teams that play Maokai quite frequently constantly get it banned out against their top laner. EDG is one of those teams. We're going to have to see what Snake decide to pick up in response. It seems like they're going to be going with an Echo as well as a Victor, so that will be a Trundle support that's picked up by Jetzo.
Alright, so that's going to be interesting. The Echo pick is fairly good into Maokai. They decided to make that choice simply because, you know, I guess either Echo or Trundle either works, but they're guessing that's going to be, or at least they know for certain that's a Tahm Kench support, so they got the proper matchups going for them.
Which means EDG do save their last pick for the mid lane. With the Maokai being picked up, their flex pick of Tahm Kench will also be a support pick that should be picked up by Mako.
Ooh, I really love this hover. Something amazing about Tahm Kench that's been happening recently, Tahm Kench support, Tahm Kench top, is that you've been seeing a lot more immobile supports, especially the Syndra, able to reposition her and team fights whenever she's really like having those issues of her positioning. So be able to reposition her at any moment helps out the pick.
And Scout actually does lock in the Syndra to go up against the Victor that Tank will be playing today. This was the exact same matchup that we saw Wayless play when he brought Syndra back into the meta in the LPL. He played against EasyHoon's Victor and had a great game on the champion. And ever since then, multiple teams have been picking up Syndra as well as a great mid lane champion to go to. And it's once again another unique pick for EDG because they have not picked up Syndra this split.
Yeah, so Syndra has just simply been coming back. There's a lot of strength in the pick within the lane as well. But on top of that, I think the key thing that really unlocked Syndra was the Tahm Kench coming back just as well. So we've been seeing a lot of immobile mages coming back simply because of the Tahm Kench, including the Xerath. A lot of people disagreeing with the pick as well as I am, but Tahm Kench is making a lot of things happen here.
Well, we can keep track and see how Maker is able to use the 2 new picks for EDG as they go up in game number 1 against Snake eSports. And we're on Summoner's Rift here for game number 1 between Snake eSports and Edward Gaming. Raz, this game does not affect the standings of these two teams. Snake are locked in for second in their group. EDG are locked in for first. But they are definitely going to be out for blood here like we've seen every other LPL team this week. And EDG is still chasing a perfect record in the summer split of the LPL.
Yeah, I would think of it as the most meaningless game because both teams, they are going to be major competitors going into the playoff. And at the same time, it means a lot for EDG. They do want to be getting this perfect split. I know last split for EDG, they lost a set or two. Feels bad too because they did go into playoffs and they lost to RNG. Not able to make it to MSI. That must have really hurt for them.
And once again, EDG are going to be using scouts in the mid lane heading into this game. We saw 2 days ago, when EDG played their last match against Invictus Gaming. They had to send Scout in as an emergency substitution to start off the series due to Pawn struggling with a couple of his back injuries heading into that match. They lost all 3 bans. They still picked up the win in that game. And now they're starting with Scout for the second day of this week. You can see both these teams also going to be sending their AD carries and supports towards the bottom side of the map. So Def the Maker will work on the Gromp camp, take that one down, where we will have Martin and Jay-Z working on the Krugs. So both AD carry support taking a camp at level 1, both junglers starting on the top side of the map.
Yeah, the Ashe pick has always been working well for Deft. This is not going to be any different. As per usual, walks up, looks to volley and pressure. This is going to be really hard for Martin. I want to see how it works out. Looks like they're scrapping already.
Yeah, they get some good damage down on towards Mako. Def was not in a good position to trade back and forth between Snake's bottom lane duo. But for now, it looks like just going to continue this brawl in the bottom lane. Def going to take a lot of harass coming out from Martin. Mako just eats him up, keeps him as safe as possible. And so far, Snake have been training pretty well in this lane.
Yeah, so it's a good time to just run down what the comps look like. Because for EDG, it's a simple pick comp going for them. A lot of lane strength coming from the bottom side, from the mid side. It looks fairly good for them. Of course, Maokai should just get pushed in constantly, so that's the only weakness they have here. And as I say that, it seems like their bottom lane just getting shoved in.
Yep, slowly EDG's bottom lane getting shoved in towards the turret. We'll be taking a look at the junglers here. SOFM has yet to start on one of his major buffs, taking the jungle pathing that we see him do constantly, which he takes all the small camps and then heads to a Scuttle camp first before taking down his major buff. Clearlove taking advantage of this, has been able to harass him while he was taking down Scuttle, and now trying to chase him off of his red buff. And so him standing his ground, looking to try and take it down. He doesn't get it. Clearlove actually gets the smite off and gets red buff for himself, countering out this jungle path that SOFM invented in the LPL.
So the jungle pathing is smart. The problem is, Well, one of the major big points of it is that you really just don't get caught out doing it, right? Not taking your buffs. Issue is, Clearlove saw him. Clearlove saw him in going for the Scuttle Crab, saw him without either buff, and so it makes it very obvious that SOFM cannot skirmish you, unable to do so, does not have that red buff, and it's a melee versus ranged matchup. So he tries to go back towards his red, and he simply does not have the right of being able to take it.
And it's very rare that we see SOFM get invaded upon by opposition junglers. Normally, he's the one that's deep inside enemy territory, deep inside trying to counter jungle wherever he possibly can. So it seems a little bit uneasy here heading into a match against Clearlove. And once again, every time SOFM goes up against one of the top tier junglers in the LPL, it's where we have questions about if he's going to be able to step up, if he's going to be able to change some of his playstyle. And so far, he hasn't been able to adapt accordingly.
Well, I mean, that's just not his fault, as we are going into a gank top side.
Yep, Clearlove moving towards the top lane, gets a good gank offer towards Flandre. He puts the parallel convergence down, only gets a shield for it though. And Clearlove not only will counter jungle SFM, but also will pick up First Blood.
So yeah, he was far too out there. He had no reason to, didn't have a ward out, gets caught out. That's just a typical gank pattern there. But specifically for SOFM, this game has not been looking good for him. In fact, after that whole shenanigans where it is red, he walks towards his wolf camp, gets caught out by Deft's ability, pretty much. Just now he's, or at least at the time, he's just simply being red, his position at all costs, and his HP on top of that. So they knew that he wasn't going to be able to help out in that top side gank, and it just gets confirmed there. But yeah, the thing is, that wasn't his fault, and oh, actually, this is just awkward for him.
He might be a little bit stuck here. A scout finds SOFM, but he does flash forward to get a knock-up on towards the Syndra. Tank responds with a little bit of damage of his own, so successfully does a bit of counter jungling and blows the flash from EDG's mid laner.
Yeah, that was really the best of, I don't want to say a bad situation, because that's really great, able to get the flash off of Syndra, so you know they're going to look to follow up on it. But he was out of position. If he didn't look to flash, if he didn't even have flash, then he just would have been in a really poor position there.
Up on the top side of the map, Mouse and Flandre just trading back and forth, as you usually see top laners do. In fact, in the bottom lane, Martin up against Deft. Even though it was Deft that got pushed up towards his turret quite early and been harassed quite frequently, he's the one who's about 10 CS up ahead of the Jhin at the moment. So doing well in that bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, he just had one bad, and this is really, really frustrating. We just keep seeing SOFM get caught up by the Ashe vision. He's constantly being read. At every point, Clearlove is always aware of his pathing. But yeah, that bottom lane matchup is it's always in Ashe's favor. I honestly think that's why EDG goes for this pick at every opportunity. You see a lot of people going for the Jhin, obviously, because it's later game strength, but mostly the early game power in trading, but you cannot out-trade the Ashe, especially as a Jhin.
Well, as you saw on your screens just then, SOFM and Clearlove had a big fight over a couple of wards on the pixel brush towards the Rift Herald camp. Just trade back and forth and do get vision for both teams down, but it's still a fairly even game between EDG and Snake. EDG do have first blood on their jungler, but they're looking for more in the bottom lane, as Martin's been forced to use his heal to get away from the exhaust that Mako used on towards Jhin.
Oh, okay. He's probably just going to use it for the wave.
Curtain Call going to come down. Mako trying to block it out so Deft does not get hit. He does use that last few shots to clear out the bottom lane.
Okay, so the big issue is, I love what Clearlove is doing, and on top of that, Deft is helping out by just getting vision of SOFM constantly, because that opens up this play to happen, where they're just able to use exhaust and shove out. Yeah, exactly. He just gets seen again. But they're just using to shove off Snake's bottom lane at every moment. They can be as aggressive as they want if Clearlove has constant vision of him, and at the same time, yeah, sure, earlier on he was just looking to skirmish him for that ward battle. But the fact that SOFM even has to get to that point where he's skirmishing with Graves, it provides a lot of protection for this bottom lane, but also for Scout. Scout did not have flash, still doesn't, but he hasn't been threatened, and he probably won't be for the next couple minutes.
Like you mentioned, Raz, Deft's been doing a really good job here. Every single time he has his Hawk Shop up and available, he's constantly sending it in towards Snake's jungle. I don't think he's missed a camp where SOFM has been at once so far in this game. A Scout actually taking a Chaos Storm to the face here. Tank Was looking to try and collapse on towards the Syndra, even forces Scout to use Ghost, and there's a scuffle in the bottom lane as well, where Mako takes quite a large amount of damage. Now SFM's being caught out by Syndra as well as Clearlove. Red buff is ticking, the Dark Sphere is not going to connect, but a flash forward and a shotgun to the face from Clearlove picks up his second kill in the game.
That was a great pick. SOFM was farming up a storm, but that's gonna stop that altogether. He just hasn't been having a good game. You're going up against Clearlove, who's constantly looking to find you, and an Ashe who's constantly just doesn't really need to do much to find you. And they're just clearing up his jungle to boot.
Exactly that. Clearlove heads straight back in towards SFM's side of the jungle, takes down Red buff for himself, and Scout already trying to zone out the manaless tank in the mid lane, who's just desperately farming minions wherever he possibly can. That blue buff that is up for Snake has been up since the start of this game. They have not approached the camp at all so far, Raz.
I mean, it's just part and due to the fact that, A, Rek'Sai doesn't want to go for the blue early, especially with his pathing. It's a lot faster for him to ignore the blue buff, go for the Scuttle Crabs, go for the Raptor camp, go to his red. Of course, he was cut off in doing so. So all of this nonsense really has stopped him honestly giving off blue buff to tank. That's all he really wants to do, but that just hasn't happened.
You see Tank not doing that great in the mid lane either. Scout, although it's had a lot of pressure from SOFM, who's been blowing a couple of summoners here and there, is still about 10 CS behind. SOFM still trying to invade on towards Clearlove's jungle, but he's able to smite away the Krug camp and take it down for himself. Now it's SOFM that wants to take down Raptors here, but Scout's close by, trying to stop the counter jungling coming out from the Rek'Sai. Only the small Raptors gets taken down.
Honestly, even just knowing that SOFM is doing this is fine enough. The bottom lane for EDG is able to just constantly shove in and pressure for free. So sure, this is great for SOFM because he's looking to counter jungle and just get the extra camps. He is a bit ahead of Graves at the moment. Both do look to focus on farming, so it feels like a farm off. But EDG have the stronger lanes mid and bot.
And you do have a slight goal lead for themselves as well. Now it's Clearlove that invades aggressively towards Snake's side of the jungle. This is quite interesting to watch for us because it's been Scout and Clearlove moving around the map and Tank and SOFM rotating around the map as well, contesting for every single small camp they can possibly get.
See, it's not so much Tank, and it just simply comes back to the strength of the matchup because Scout has constantly been able to shove Tank in early, right? He is kind of struggling, not able to get the first upgrade. So it comes to the point where, yeah, and he's always low in mana, so he needs to address the wave. Syndra can do that quite easily for herself, so she's always able to answer and push SOFM off his camps, or at least try and harm him a bit, while helping out Clearlove in his own ventures.
James, he's been able to sneak himself up towards the top side of this map. SFM will be standing on top of a ward. So they know the jungler is here, but not so much the support of Snake. EDG see this coming through, and they go down to the bottom lane, take down the Infernal Dragon for themselves, whereas Snake eSports will be able to take down the top lane outer turret.
Now, I would usually say that's a good trade for Snake because they do want to get this ball moving for them. They want to open up the game for themselves, get Flandre a little bit more pressure, maybe more time in being able to rotate or help out clear out vision. But they lost a Fire Drake for that. The Infernal Drake is fairly good. And on top of that, you're trading that for a tower on top of it. So it's just great for EDG here.
You can see Martin standing as far away as possible from this bottom lane outer turret. Does not have any vision on where the rest of EDG are and does not want to risk falling down as well as his own turret. Def picks it up, denies as many minions as possible. He is 20 CS up ahead of this Jhin and doing well to start this game off.
Yeah, I mean, he loves this matchup. He picked the Ashe early, of course, but whenever he oh, nice. That's always perfect. But yeah, he picked the Ashe early, of course, but whenever he gets the Ashe versus Jhin matchup, he will always find a lead with it. It's always going to be helpful for him because he can shove out the lane and just use volley to constantly look to pressure and chip down on Martin.
You can see him, he's also moving towards the mid lane. We already saw Mako get a failed attempt at a gank on towards Tank, but did blow the Victor's flash.
Yeah.
Still has his cleanse to get away from the arrow from Deft, but only one summoner spell up for Tank right now. And Deft is one of those AD carries that likes to disappear into Fog of War, threaten with the Enchanted Crusader, making them play much more safer than they should, and increase the lead for EDG slowly but surely.
Yeah, and an issue we're finding here for Snake do need to look to address this because with the bottom tower down on the position of Snake. Yeah, they're now moving Martin towards that mid lane because he simply cannot walk up with GSO. That would be very dangerous for him.
And some great pink wards being placed down by EDG around the Dragon Pit. One on the right-hand side of the mid lane brush, one on the pixel brush close to the Dragon Pit, means that every single time Snake walk up to put wards down, it's instantly cleared out by the members of EDG waiting in the river.
Yeah, this bot side jungle does belong to EDG now. SOFM had to walk away from it because now their red buff is spawning, but that has to be EDG's.
Tank going to take a little bit of damage from Scout in the mid lane. Thunderlords gets him down to 2/3 of his health. And ClearLove has been taking red buff after red buff after red buff away from SOFM. SOFM has not had a single major buff this entire game on Rek'Sai.
Well, I mean, the early encounter makes sense because he had his own issues there where he got caught out in his own tank, and they're going to lose this tower for it just the same. Really unfortunate here for Snake. But yeah, once you look to lane swap on that, you lose all power over your bottom side jungle there. That's EDG's. And it looks like they're going to be heading back and taking control of their own top side just the same.
We talk about how, there's always a light and dark ClearLove. Dark ClearLove, hungry for kills. Light ClearLove, going to farm up a storm. He's really been a little bit of the light ClearLove today. Yes, he has 2 kills to his name and the only 2 kills in the game. But he's been the one that's constantly in SOF's jungle, constantly farming up any minions he can possibly see and helping his team rotate around the map, which means EDG do have 2 turrets, a single dragon, to only the single turret that Snake eSports have picked up so far.
Yeah, I mean, the extra farm in terms of the counter jungling for Graves is fine. That's fun. But he's just trying to nail down where SOFM is, make his pathing a lot more predictable, and so that helps out with Ashe constantly looking for him just the same. So it's really awkward if you're SOFM, you're trying to help out your lanes, some of them not doing so well, but at the same time, you can't help out yourself. It's becoming a lot harder for him to look to find farm.
Speaking of SOFM, he's gone for his unique build again, Raz. He's got Berserker Greaves on Rek'Sai, as well as going for the Tiamat first before completing his Cinderhulk. He even picked one up before he even completed his Smite, or upgrading his Smite. We see unique builds from him time and time again. I know Spawn likes to say that he's the Tiamat player, and even confirmed it on stream when he decided to pick up Hurricane on Graves, which was an interesting match.
He lost that game, too.
He did lose that game. It was all downhill from that item pickup.
Yeah,
as a Curtical actually being used on towards Scout, he will get locked down by SOFM, but Mako just eats him up and spits him out of the Curtical range to keep EDG safe.
All right, well, nothing really came of that. But yeah, SOFM's decisions in terms of his builds are sometimes genius, most of the time not so good. So I do not agree with the Berserker's Greaves. I do understand he's trying to dish out as much damage, but especially now where he's not very tanky. The Ashe is, the CC in general, not just Ashe, but the stun coming from... Ooh.
Def's being jumped on. There's a flash forward from SOFM to lock the Ashe down. Def just flashes away from the pillar that Jay-Z flashed forward to use. So 2 flashes for 1 in the bottom lane. But now Def a little bit vulnerable for the next 4 minutes.
Yeah, couldn't really find anything. But I do want a Merc Treads for the Rek'Sai because there's so many stuns coming from this game. If he ever gets focused down, it's bad for him.
Scout's going to be a bit careful. SOFM's chasing on towards him. There's an ultimate coming out from Syndra. SOFM gets taken down as Scout flashes away from the Chaos Storm. ClearLove trying to deal with Flandre. Will get help from Mako and Scout. Forced to use the ultimate to get back to safety, and the laser will not connect with the second tick to take down the jungler.
Snake have just not found anything. That was their fight too. They were looking to get something out of it. But at every point, they lose the pick and they die for it. SOFM goes far too forward. He is building incredibly damage heavy. So just the burst coming out of Syndra, of course that's going to kill you.
There's a couple of times now that we saw what you were talking about in Champions League, Rads, where a lot more immobile mid lane has been picked up, especially with the Tahm Kench being picked up in the top lane and support positions recently. He was able to save Scout from the Curtical around the Dragon fight, was able to assist him around the red buff fight there. So really aiding to immobility of Syndra.
Exactly. Tahm Kench lately has really just been so crucial. Not so much top lane, because if you are a top lane Tahm Kench, and we're about to see some Tahm Kench action, a little bit cute, not really necessary. But regardless, Tahm Kench top lane will be stuck in his own lane, right? He's going to be looking to trade constantly, so his ability or availability towards the rest of his team, not so much. A roaming Tahm Kench can do whatever he pleases to help his teammates out. So there was a lot of points where Syndra usually is like, I don't have flash. This is a really awkward situation. but just eats him up, walks away from the situation, can choose to flash with him, so then you get an extra flash on top of the flash that you have on as a Syndra. So it's a lot more mobility and safety for an immobile champion.
Like what we saw just then, you can even use the ultimate, try and get to objectives quicker, try and start fights with it, get good flanks around from it. I mean, that would help them pick up the Ocean Dragon with that.
Exactly, and so I know 5 lately in his last sets with Tahm Kench, he even had it banned against him. Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Scout in a bit of trouble. A Chaos Storm as well as the Kurtzakol is going to be put down by Snake. The final shot does not connect as the quick draw from Kirillov gets him to safety. Two big spells being used by Snake, but nothing for EDG to contest for while they're down.
Yeah, Snake were trying to get anything. It felt like a desperation play. They're trying to get anything to shove Syndra out of lane so they can possibly look to contest this mid lane turret, because right now they don't have a mid lane turret of their own. Snake doesn't. So their jungle is a lot more susceptible to being invaded. They really don't have much control. They need to push out these waves to protect their own jungle. So they're just trying to put EDG on even playing field, and it's just not working out for them.
Certainly is not. EDG are approaching 2,500 gold ahead of Snake, and they're definitely in firm control of Summoner's Rift, making sure that Snake are moving according to where EDG want them to be on the map. And it seems like at the moment that's in the mid lane as Deft, Clearlove as well as Mako try to clear out as many wards as possible around the Baron pit, which is going to be spawning in about a minute's time. About 10 seconds, sorry, not even a minute.
Ooh, yeah, faster than we thought it would be. But yeah, 20 minutes as the clock strikes 20. Not a lot of pressure coming in from either team. There's not a lot of fast take. Perhaps EDG can do it quite quickly once they start to get more damage on the Graves. But for now, it looks like the pressure that EDG is looking to use with their vision is just simply going to be coming solely through their pick potential. If Snake ever walk up a little bit too far forward, Syndra pick, Ashe pick, even Maokai pick, that could be the start of their fight.
SSFM takes more than 2/3 of his health in damage from Scout just harassing him all over the wall. Saving grace for Snake at the moment is the fact that Flandre is actually 30 CS up ahead of Mouse up at the top lane. Mid lane, a slight CS advantage for Tank as well.
That's their only winning and pushing matchup for them. So, yeah, Flandre is doing a great job, but at the end of the day, all Maokai is trying to do is just keep him at bay and help out the rest of his team, look for a flank play whenever possible. He's just the insurance policy for EDG.
Certainly is that insurance policy. As they move their policy up towards the top side of the map, EDG congregating around the top lane outer turret, looking to see if they can push this down. Snake do react though, as they have Martin and Jay-Z to defend the turret on the top side of the map. EDG not done yet. Just trying to clear out wards wherever they can, poke people over the wall as well. Eventually I'll have to send someone bottom lane to deal with Flandre who's pushing against the bottom lane outer turret.
Yeah, if we just look at the map for a quick second, the amount of wards that Snake currently have, about none. There's only one pink ward protecting their red buff. That does not exist. So first of all, Snake do need to push up their pink wards. Second of all, they need to create a play. They need to make something happen because EDG has just been clearing anything and everything available to them. There's only one cheeky green ward for Snake, but it's only a matter of time.
And he did it. Finally, the first buff of the game goes over towards Snake. Tank picks up his first blue buff in this match as Clearlove was not able to steal it away with his collateral damage.
You know what feels bad is Snake's trying to get the first win on EDG, trying to get first blood on EDG's record, but they're just struggling to get the first buff for themselves. That's just
struggling to get their first buff, the first dragon, the first kill. Things not going their way so far, Raz.
Yeah, EDG's just making it very clear to them. Hey, you want to get your first win? Well, there's a lot of firsts that need to happen in this game to make it work for you.
And Clearlove is still maintaining good vision control over the Baron pit there. Also took down the Scuttle Crab to grant his team permanent vision over the entrance to Baron.
So this is just a quick lesson for Snake. Snake is a team that when they do have a game against lower teams in their standings, they can outplay them. But at the same time, they do actually play good League of Legends. They make decent rotations. It works out for them. They know how to abuse their strong side. They know how to abuse the enemy's weak side. So they're great in that regard, but relatively speaking, you're going up against EDG, you have to know how to be a lot more crisp.
Well, we are 23 minutes into this match. EDG have slowed it down slightly, still maintaining control of the game and are still about 2,000 gold up ahead of Snake. Dragon's going to be back up in 40 seconds. EDG were able to control the last 2 elemental dragons. There was an Infernal and an Ocean Dragon back then. We'll have to see if they can continue to do the same thing as the next elemental drake spawns.
Yeah, so it is an awkward position for Snake right now. They're trying their hardest to make something happen, to make a pick on Syndra, but Tahm Kench is always right beside her.
They almost catch SOFM. He has to flash away from the enchanted crystal arrow that Def threw out from downtown. Big ultimate spent, but it's a summoner spell burnt, and here's a Curtain Call. Mako once again eats up Scout, walks him over to the safety of the range of the Curtain Call. Yep. Scout even uses the Ghost to just make sure he has that added mobility.
So this is just comes down to the weakness of the composition. It's not saying that Snake's comp is bad. It just feels like EDG has countered it just through the Tahm Kench alone. Now it looks like they'll have some alone time with this mid tower. Perhaps they can get it.
And they're looking to push this one down. They've got some decent damage onto the mid lane out of turret, but a flank is going to be coming out from Mouse from the top lane. The Maokai's looking to collapse. Tank was exhausted during this time, but he only finds SOFM thanks to a good pillar that came out from JZ. Clearlove going to be chasing him down as well, but they don't get anything from the flank.
Yeah, so Maokai was not going to be able to get there. Now, if this was a previous patch where TP did not have that long of a timing, maybe could have worked out for him. Regardless, even Rek'Sai is a focal point because he isn't as tanky as most Rek'Sais.
Scout's been caught out there, has to flash over the pillar, but the rest of Snake have been engaged upon. JZ has already been taken down. Curtain Call is up, lands the second shot onto Def, who flashes over the wall to get the safety. Clearlove will be able to take down Tank. Echo, meanwhile, is able to assassinate Scout. Clearlove incredibly low, has to be careful. Flandre into the back lines. Mako going to pop the grey health to keep himself alive. Mouse is going toe-to-toe against SFM and Martin. He's got Def to back him up. Martin's taking a lot of damage, has to flash away, and it will be Ash that picks up another kill. Suddenly, Flandre gets a kill for himself. Clearlove rejoins the action on little to no health, trying to heal up with that first Ocean Dragon they picked up previously, and it's Flandre that now runs for the hills.
And here comes another Ocean Dragon, but that entire fight was fun to see. That was really good overall. EDG was just going to be able to take it because, of course, the composition as a whole, there's so much safety coming out of it through that Tahm Kench. And it's not done yet.
They get the smite onto the dragon, so EDG secure the third dragon of the game, but Flandre tries to teleport into the pit, but only to his death, as arrows back up for Deft as well. JZ will fall down as Mouse Twisted advances onto him. And EDG pick up even more kills and are now 4,000 gold up ahead of Snake.
Snake thought they could outplay. They were like, you know what, they're fairly low in HP. I can look to get this. Martin tries to get a cheeky damage off his W. Couldn't even get it. Def's micro, you can look straight through it. He was able to just bob and weave through all the damage and still get so many slows that just got Giazzo and Flandre that entire skirmish.
And finally, EDG have picked up a nice gold lead for themselves. Yes, they've been sitting 1,000, 2,000 gold ahead throughout this entire match, but 4,000 gold and 3 dragons really breaks things open for them.
But yeah, this is just going to be difficult for Snake because through the beginning of the game, where they don't have the strong laners and SOFM is always tracked, through the midpoint of the game where honestly Snake is supposed to push and roam towards the mid lane and make a pick on Scout, but they simply can't do that because EDG will always have the shove on the side lanes, and that makes it easy for Tahm Kench to always be there to save Scout whenever those picks happen.
Well, they just took blue buff away from Snake and now starting on Baron. Echo is down on the bottom side of the map with no teleport to get up towards this pit. SFM tries to go in for the steal but gets obliterated as soon as he makes his way in towards the Baron pit. Baron picked up by EDG and they even take down Snake's jungler.
Perfect pink wards to catch Rek'Sai looking to get in. Perfect Ashe ulti to just zero in on him when he was trying to get the steal. And they just blew him away, eviscerated him entirely. That was just a great look to burn the Baron down and just have no risk involved.
None at all, and EDG look to continue pushing for even more objectives. Tahm Kench going to use the ultimate to get behind this structure. Deft and Clearlove getting some good damage down already. Top lane inner turret will fall. And EDG, they are just looking so dominant in the first match.
Yeah, and it's not like Snake's just falling over. They're playing, or at least they're trying to play well. They're not going off on just saying, hey, you know what? Like the rest of the teams, we'll just try and have fun on our last game of the summer split. They're trying to play good League of Legends, but they're just getting outplayed entirely by EDG.
Well, you know, Duraz, we've seen some interesting builds on Syndra recently. You know, we have the Morellos, Rylai's. I think yesterday we had a Haunting Guys into Abyssal, Sork Boots, so they have a lot of magic penetration, straight into Void Staff. Scout decides he wants a Proto Belt in amongst this one, you know, give him a little bit more mobility.
Yeah,
jump in towards Mako's mouse so he can get eaten up and carried to safety.
I just don't get surprised anymore and whenever someone adds a Proto Belt into a build, because Proto Belt, whenever you add a Proto Belt, never really makes it bad, especially if you're far ahead with a Proto Belt build. Ooh, there we go. It feels more and more like a snowball item where you can just kind of make plays happen, try to surprise them a bit, and you still get the burst damage for you.
It even increases your burst damage, especially when you're a champion like Syndra. As finally all three inner turrets have been taken down with the Baron buff that EDG picked up for themselves. Mouse's teleport is back up on the line, so he heads back to base, picks up a couple of items for himself. EDG looking to push for the bottom lane inhibitor turret. They've got 5 members strong down here. Flandre only able to lock down Mouse with the parallel convergence. JZ takes a bit of damage from the dark spheres that Scout is throwing out. And EDG looking to try and contest for this structure.
Yeah, they do have the Baron buff. They're waiting for the next wave coming towards them. I believe that's a cannon wave coming in. It is. So this is going to be the wave that they're looking to pressure on.
So far, Snake are not letting them close inside of the base. Mouse has a thing to do to say about that as Flandre takes a lot of damage trying to defend the structure.
Yeah, Snake all in on that one. They really do. Oh,
they got Tank with an arrow. He has to use his cleanse to get away, but takes a lot of damage from the collateral damage. A collateral damage that came out from Graves, and they're now pushing in towards the turret. Kernacall comes out from Martin. A big parallel convergence will come out from the Echo. Scout's able to get out of there in time and get back to safety. EDG now the ones that are trying to run away. And Snake look to collapse, but they're just not quick enough to get onto the remaining members of EDG.
There is just so much kite back. And at the same time, Snake did well. They knew what wave that they were going to crash on. They knew which wave their EDG were going to contest. And they blew their ultis to try and shove them away. And they got a decent fight. That's what it looked like. They were able to stun down the Maokai and look to focus them in. But once again, Mako makes it impossible. So, this is hard. It's a hard game, especially if you're behind.
Certainly is, and you're 10,000 gold behind in this game. Snake have a mountain to climb. They want to try and get back into this first set. EDG playing very strong and very clinically, as we have seen EDG play throughout this entire split.
I mean, it just comes back to the draft beginning. I usually don't like blaming draft. It's not a big issue, but when you do come into a game in which, yeah, the Tahm Kench gets first rotated, you see that it becomes difficult to then make your comp surrounding those mid lane skirmishes. It really does. And so, especially if you don't have really the damage to address the kite back coming from them.
Snake looking to try and catch out Mouse here. Flandre will get jumped up by Mouse will get jumped up by 4 members of Snake. He's trying to keep himself alive using his ultimate. Mako's actually joined the fight, capturing him in his mouth, trying to spin him out and keep him alive. Mouse is running for the hills. Mako truly is the support that they need because he just sacrificed himself to keep Mouse alive. He's still trying to run though. Twisted Van keeps him alive a little bit longer, but a double kill is picked up by Tank. But at what cost? That was 4 members chasing. Marta gets locked down by an arrow. EDG are pushing for a base. Klidov already taken down the inhibitor turret. Deft almost gets jumped on by SOFM. He's now the one that's retreating away. Does have his allies inside the red side of the jungle to help him if they need help, but that's an inhibitor turret traded for 2 kills.
They're looking to group. Snake does not want them to escape.
Flash away from Scout, gets away from parallel convergence, as well as the pillar plays down by Trundle. So EDG do escape, and they move straight towards another dragon.
Yeah, it's a sad statement on life when you try and get them, just can't. You just can't get them at the end of the day. But yeah, that was a really good play from EDG. They knew that one person got caught. Snake was overextending to try and kill out their 2 largest tanks. It's going to take a long time if you want to kill out that Maokai, that tree, and Tahm Kench. So they recognized that. They even threw out an enchanted crystal arrow to lock down anyone who was trying to back. So they got the mid lane inhib tower. Trying to get the bot lane didn't really work out for them.
Tell you what though, Mako really wanted to save Mouse. Unfortunately, was not the case for him, as we see the Baron power play coming out from EDG. 6,130 gold increased since they got the Baron buff for themselves. A big play. They took down all of the outer turrets and also a single inhibitor turret during that last engage.
Yeah, it's a 10k gold lead, but it's just been, I wouldn't want to say a slow game, but since the very start of this game, EDG have just been outplaying Snake throughout the entire map at every point. It's just not going to end here.
Jay-Z taking a bit of damage. Here is a teleport coming deep into the enemy territory from Mouse, straight into the team fight. He's on top of tank already, forced to use the cleanse early. SOFM's gone.
Oh.
A big stun comes out from Syndra in the back lines. Scouts ghosting forward for the double. Jay-Z has to flash away from the remaining members of EDG. Across the sidelines, it's going to be Deft that picks up a kill. Mako's not done. He's going to use his ultimate to get into the base of EDG. A Curtical will get popped, looking for Deft and Mouse, but Clearlove and Mako just take it up. Jay-Z will pay for it with his life, and EDG, they're into the base, Raz. They're looking to end this game.
Yeah, clinical is one word you put it. This game seemed to be over by 20-minute mark because ever since EDG got hold of the game...
They're looking for it. Ooh, almost doesn't get that final Dark Sphere on towards Martin. Stays in the safety of his fountain, which is really the only thing he can do there, as EDG, in very clinical style, pick up game number 1 over Snake.
Yeah, it just came down to the vision war at every point. They have a pick composition, right? EDG have that pick comp. That's what they're looking for. So wherever they went, they brought pink wards with them. They brought the rest of the team with them. So it was difficult for Snake to fight for any vision. It was difficult for them to place any vision. It was just not going to happen.
It was difficult for Snake from the very start as well. SFM just got completely out-jungled by Clearlove throughout the entire game.
I mean, out-jungled by Clearlove. I think we got out-jungled by the team of EDG. It was a team effort through and through. Whenever he tried to go for one camp, Ash threw out some vision, you know. So he was like, okay, well, I guess they know exactly where I am. Whenever he tried to go for his Raptor camp, Clearlove came with Scout. It was a 2v1 at every point he went into.
You can see a couple of highlights on your screen. This was a big team fight for EDG, one that Snake actually looked strong to start off with, separating Syndra from the rest of the team. But it really was Mouse and Def working together to pick up the cleanup kills in this fight. They got even more after they took down Dragon, and this was that final team fight. Scout comes up huge on this Syndra.
Yeah, Scout did do quite a bit. Of course, he threw out his ulti on his Dark Spears, and then immediately scattered the weak. The entire team was just locked down, could not do anything about it. And so one big point that we didn't really talk about the entire game was, of course, Mouse. The silent Mouse is a perfect name for him. It really was, because he didn't have a single noise coming out of him. So he was able to really be a factor in the later game in the team fight.
He certainly was, and the entire EDG roster looked fantastic in game number 1 against Snake. They're still chasing perfection. They still have another game to go if they want to pick up the 2-0 victory, which we will be showing you guys in just a minute.